right now. Yeah, I should have copied that. All right, we are now live, as they say, in the world of sports. So a lot of stuff happened tonight in the world of sports, and we're gonna be talking about it for the next hour, from 1 to 2. I'm here. If you want to email the show, email us at sportsteady@protonmail.com or tweet at us at sportsteady, and we will get back to you. On Sports Steady tonight. Now that we got that set, let's get our first topic in. What are we going to talk about? All right, so there is a was there anything really happening yesterday in sports that was like kind of we had some hockey going on, NHL. See if we get some scores. Matter of fact, I am going to go to my favorite site and pull up the scores for the night so it could be ready. So, top story of the night is in battle Brandon Miller. Now, everybody know Brandon Miller was involved in some crazy stuff that was going on, and there's no charges going to be placed. This is Alabama uh, star player, which until tonight I didn't even know that Alabama was that good in basketball, right? I really didn't know. I didn't realize they're number 2 in the nation right now in college basketball. Usually Alabama's known as a football school. But over the last few years, Alabama has been quietly building up the program on the basketball side of the athletics. And Alabama hoop star, he delivered a gun that was used in a shooting. That happened in January near the campus. This is a freshman kid. He brought Darius Miles a gun the night of the shooting after Miles texted him and asked him to do so. So, the allegation of Miller's involvement in the night of January 15th shooting came during a preliminary hearing for Miles and Michael Davis, who faced capital murder charges for the death of a 23-year-old woman. Miles is a former Crimson Tide player accused of providing his gun to. Wait, what? Miles is a former Tide player, excuse me, who gave the gun to Davis, who fired it and killed Harris, the woman. A lot of complicated details in this case. But Miller is the one who, I guess, brought the gun to Miles, and then Miles gave it to Davis. I mean, a lot of so Miller is the hockey assist here. Does he get charged as the he delivered a hockey assist on the kill? He wasn't even a direct assist. I know there's a lot of jokes online about the one time he didn't pass up the ball, he took the shot and all this other stuff. We're gonna get into the tweets on social media. They had a field day with this because you know how social media is. They make fun of anything and everything. It doesn't matter how serious it is. That's just what people do online. But so it wasn't even a legit assist. It was a hockey assist, which is also legit, right? And the hockey, if you play hockey, you know what we're talking about with the hockey assist. And I think the same thing. Do they have hockey assists in football? I'm not even sure. And not football, real football, not the American football. So So the coach said that Miller was in the wrong spot at the wrong time. That he is kind of defending him. So the coach is defending his star freshman recruit, of course, because that's the guy who's going to keep him in his job. Now, one thing he knows about this story is like, look, if you got talent, you're going to get away with a lot of shit. Do you think this happens if someone typically was linked to a capital murder? Would they be allowed to come back to their job? Or, I mean, people would be like, oh, whoa, dude, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, but this guy's right back on the court, and apparently it's Alabama, it's down south, it's your star athlete, you're probably gonna get away with it. You could probably shoot somebody in the middle of the state capital, and Miles Miller could have pulled the trigger himself, and nothing would have happened, because that's just how it goes in in sports, in athletics, college athletics, right? If you can deliver, you will get special treatment. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So Miller, who leading the number 2 Alabama, he had 41 points, including the go-ahead bucket with 0.9 seconds left in overtime, as the Crimson Tide outlasted South Carolina 78-76 on Wednesday night. So now this guy performed pretty damn well. It was almost like, now he didn't do the shooting, right? It wasn't like Aaron Hernandez who went out and killed a person, and then on Sunday he's like catching touchdown passes from Tom Brady, right? This is a little bit different. But Miller, this is the day after the story came out about Miller being linked to the fatal shooting near the campus. However, hours before tip-off, Alabama said Miller was not a suspect and would remain an active member of the Crimson Tide, who is now 14-1 in the Southeastern Conference and 24-4 overall. Alabama coach Nick Oates had seen and battled players like Miller lock into the game when things are difficult. And Oates said, quote, "It's what they've done their whole lives and let some of the outside stuff out of their mind," Oates said. "I thought Brandon did a great job really getting himself mentally ready to play." So Miller had Tide's first 40-point game since Colin Sexton scored 40 against Minnesota back in 2017. Yeah, Colin Sexton now in the NBA. Neither Miller nor any other Alabama players were available to the media after the game. So media blackout. They don't want those kids being asked questions about the shooting, which is understandable. And so Alabama now has a 1-game lead over Texas A&M in the race for the SEC regular season championship. Texas A&M is number 25 in the country. So a tight race for the SEC title between Alabama and Texas A&M, another school I did not realize was that good in basketball recently. Miller's final bucket in regulation with 4.1 seconds of play tied the game at 68 and forced the extra period. Miller went 14-25 from the field and had 6 of Alabama's 7 3-pointers. So this kid is the real deal. The guy went 6 out of 7 from behind the arc. This kid can play. Will he be in the NBA next season? That's going to be a tough call because it's hard to get that stench off you when it comes to being linked to a capital murder, right? No one really wants to go there. So this kid's going to really have to clear his name or convince people that he had nothing. Because getting away with something on a college level, I can guarantee you the NBA, any team that, like NBA executives or scouts are doing their due diligence right now, because we're in January, right? We're in February. So March Madness comes around. who knows if this kid will go pro or not next year? He could, because he'll be one and done if he's really this good. And if he decides to go pro, he's got a few months. The draft is what, June? So the NBA teams are definitely going to be doing a deep dive, because it's one thing for a college campus, a college, to say, yeah, the guy's not a suspect, or because not small towns, but universities, college town, they do things differently. They protect star players. So we might not have gotten the full story on how involved Miller really is in this murder. And as much as they might want to sweep it under the rug, the NBA people have much more resources and much more. They'll do more due diligence to try to figure out, is Miller that type of guy that they would want on the NBA roster. Now, I think if he's really this good, I don't think it's gonna matter as far as like him being in the NBA period, because I think he will play in the NBA if he's this good. Or does he come back to school for a second season and try to wash away the stench and reinvent himself? Me personally, I think he's going to be out of there. There's no reason for him to stay back at all, because why even linger around too long? You want to strike when the iron's hot. And if you're that good, you go pro, get your money, and hopefully get a strong legal defense around you, just in case something comes up later on. Because who knows? If he goes pro or he starts making money, will the family wants to sue the player? Because they said, well, he did give the gun and They start making us think about it. Then now there's even more bigger problems later on that could come down the line. So expect to see a bunch of either payoffs or whatever. And the truth always comes out. One thing we do know, that it could be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, the truth will come out at some point. The full truth. You can't hide it. And if he's one of those kind of guys that is giving out guns for capital murder as a college freshman, then his character may not be as great. So we'll see. And Miller's attorney has said, I must be clear here that Miller's attorneys come out and said that his client never touched the gun and drove away from the scene when the shots were fired. So this is really close. Like, they saw the dude not only allegedly brought the gun, or was asked to bring a gun, he was at the scene when the shots were fired and drove off. According to the lawyer saying, hey, my client never touched the gun, which I don't know how he doesn't touch the gun when they asked him to bring a gun. So I don't know about that part. I'm not a legal expert. We're not pretending to be one here. And then it says that he drove away from the scene when shots were fired, which is kind of, when they were fired, the shots, and you drove off. Or either way, it's like, you're kind of with the people and not with the people. It's real close. I mean, I'm still, like, with that many details, if that was a regular person, I'm just saying, things would have turned out a bit differently, because you're at the scene when the shots are fired. Like, how do you explain that as a regular Joe compared to being a star athlete? You got a lawyer that could back you out of that. So we'll see what happens. That's why I believe this story is not over by a long shot. And even if this guy leaves and goes pro next year, there's definitely going to be a bunch of due diligence that's going to be done by the NBA people, right? Like, whoever decides to draft this kid. So that's what we're going to have to look forward to. We're going to have to see how that goes and what happens from that moment. And we'll find out. We'll get the truth, because you can't hide the truth. The truth is always there. the details will come out. So we'll see. We will see. So how that goes. So like I said, we're on twitter.com/sportssteady. Email us at sportssteady@protonmail.com. I'm gonna be checking the emails, be reacting to some sports comments. It could be anything. It don't have to be this topic. It could be anything you wanna discuss. Or I'm not gonna say debate because this is not a debate show. So don't try to debate through the email. But I will give my opinion, some comments and stuff like that. So let's see some other news around the world of sports. That was the big story in the NCAA. So we have how about this one? The NFL story. Patrick Mahomes, Netflix is gonna have a series, Netflix series quarterback to follow Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota through the 2022 series. On and off the field will debut in the summer of 2023. Netflix announced yesterday. Peyton Manning is the executive producer for the show, and it was crucial in convincing the quarterbacks to take part in the series. Peyton Manning traveled to Kansas City to convince Mahomes in person. So that series is probably going to end really, really well, being that Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, right? He's a Super Bowl MVP, got another Super Bowl. So Netflix must be happy that they can cap that off with their series. Could you imagine if I was about to say Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts would have beat Mahomes? That would have been a Debbie Downer for the end of that Netflix quarterback series. So they started off with Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Now, Kirk Cousins had a pretty good year with the Vikings as a team, but ultimately they didn't do jack. And Marcus Mariota, that might be the one down part of that series because Mariota didn't do jack squat. Well, where was he? Was he with the Falcons, I believe? He was with the Atlanta Falcons this year. And they didn't do nothing. So that series is going to come. You're going to see how Mahomes had a baby in the middle of the season. He wins the Lombardi Trophy, and the crew was there for all of it. They got everything documented, which might explain why the other Mahomes brother was on his best behavior. We didn't really see much from what's his name, Jackson, this year. He was kind of, and the wife too. She was kind of under her best behavior as well for the most part. Remember last season and a couple of years before that, there was a lot of talk about like, oh, the wife is annoying and the brother is a goofball with the social media stuff. For some reason, this season, now unless I'm wrong, unless I missed it, I didn't really see. They seem to be, at least the wife seems to be a lot more mature now. Now she has babies now. She was pregnant, so that might also play the part in that. And maybe they all was keeping it calm because it was like, well, she's having a baby, and Jackson's probably was told, hey man, we got the camera crew here, we got a series. Let's keep that under wraps. Like, don't be a goof. So that might explain why things seem a little bit more calmer now in the Mahomes camp. So good for Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. Yeah, but it's got to be so weird because Mario to 13 games, right? So it's like, okay, how does that series end after 13 games? 13 games is still a big chunk of the season, but still, like, you got this Netflix series, this documentary following you around, and now you're on the bench. You go from starting quarterback, and then Kirk Cousins, who's goes to the wild card game and loses to the Giants, right? After having home field advantage and being like the better team all year. Like they was basically the second best record in the NFC for most of the season. So the Netflix, at least they got Mahomes the Super Bowl, so that was a positive, I guess. But damn, they must feel real fortunate to have that happen. So I don't watch Netflix, so I probably won't be watching this because I don't watch Netflix. Netflix is a garbage company for my own personal reasons why I don't support Netflix, but so I probably won't even be watching that. But if you guys are watching that, let us know what you think about it. It's coming out summer 2023, so if you're interested, I just gave them a free promotion, but who cares? Nobody's listening to us anyway. But and that's that. So we're NFL. A lot of NFL rumors has been starting around too. The T Higgins on the hot stove heating up now. I mean, Lamar Jackson stuff is heating up with the Ravens. What they're gonna do is Jackson get the long-term deal, or the Ravens gonna give him his money, what he wants. I don't know, probably not. I always said I mean, look, I'm not gonna be. I'm not pocket counting nobody, but from the standpoint of building a team and from a business standpoint, look, if I'm Lamar Jackson, of course I get why he wants his money. But if I'm the Ravens and I'm a business, I'm not investing. I'm just not. Lamar Jackson has already reached his ceiling. Okay? And I've been saying this last year. I said this last year on the podcast, on the Sports Study podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon,